Hey everybody, this is Way to Fail here with some more scrolls, where we're on the test server again taking a look at Decay, which is just around the corner. But I wanted to give you an opportunity to look at the pre-constructed deck, see what you're getting, see what's in action here, because starting next week the prices won't be the same. Like you can see the scroll prices here differently, but you'll be able to buy individual Decay scrolls for like $165 or so. You'll also be able to buy a pre-constructed deck, which I believe comes with an avatar as well, so pretty nice. But the list of cards, we're just going to go through the pre-constructed deck. It doesn't have all of the top tier cards, but if you remember your first pre-constructed deck you got, kind of the same thing. This isn't meant to be an overpowered resource, it's just meant to be an additional resource. Quick note though that they have changed the names of a few of the cards in case you start looking for them. The Ilmire, or the Muckheads are now changed. This is now the Harvester, which is probably better just to be a little bit scarier. And then we have also the Mire Shambler, which changed from the Staggering Muckhead. So Lumbering Muckhead is now Harvester. Mire Shambler used to be Staggering Muckhead. Still the same effects, still the same cards. But let's take a look at the pre-constructed because it has some favorable cards, some unfavorable cards. We're going to see how they play. Enamorvor. When unit adjacent unit dies, enchanted unit deals 1 damage to all, and you draw 1 scroll. So that's something that can be dodged pretty easily by the opponent. I'm not a huge fan of that card, but Arthritis, each time a enchanted creature unit deals damage, it's also dealt 1 damage to itself. Can be useful for small creatures or for backing out. Not the strongest enchantment in the world, though. Atrophy, target unit attack is decreased by 5 until the end of opponent's next turn. Pretty useful for stopping an attack. But I don't know if that's necessarily going to be a card that stays in by the time I'm done building my deck, but not terrible. Bitter Root, when it's attacked, it's pretty much, it does a poison every time. It's a very interesting wall, but it only has 2 health. So pretty much it's not going to be able to take much of a beating here. Blightbearer, what is a card that we've seen before, and it is interesting. It is hard to find, but keep in mind that when it attacks, it takes poison damage itself. So this guy is going to die eventually. You just want to make sure he takes down as many people as possible with you. Brain Lice, awesome card. 3 resources though, so it is a little bit expensive for a poison. And they did update the tooltip from what I remember before, saying poison for 3 rounds, so it's not an infinite poison. And when it's destroyed, you draw 1 scroll. So that isn't poison damage destruction, unlike some other effects. That is just straight up poison. Cluster Hex, all units on tile and adjacent tiles gain Curse 1. Curse 1 is additional damage. So when countdown is, and this is the Curse Monger who also does curse, and he's a ranged attacker. Let's see if we get the Curse 2 tooltip. No, we don't here, but he can add Curse 2 to somebody else, so that's not a terrible way to snipe and make creatures weaker if possible. Damning Curse is one of my favorite cards from the set. It's nice that you get 1 in the precon, so you only have to fish for 2 more. Destroy target creature you control. Units you control deal 1 damage. With the number of cards in this deck that involve killing yourself, Damning Curse is very important, especially for a 4 resource creature removal. Really good card. Draining Mist for 3 resources, I don't really like it, but increasing cooldown by 2 does have its uses if you're trying to really slow the crap down. Of course, then you could just get Rally next turn or something. Hex Marks is it's just an enchantment, but it does stay on. It's like Essence Feast in that it does extra idle damage, but this is a good game ender possibly if you're doing a deck that's more geared towards idle damage. Husk, we have just plain old creature. 1 Ilmire Hunter. Some people are not going to like seeing Slayer in the default deck. Some people aren't going to like seeing it in general. In my experience, the Ilmire Hunter is good, don't get me wrong, at destroying creatures, but the Slayer effect, because it only has 2 attack, you can block it with structures, you can block it with all kinds of things. It's not the be-all end-all card that maybe I was thinking it was, but still something to watch out for, especially 5 health for 4 resources. Very strong 4-drop, don't get me wrong. Ilmire Rod Eater, a card that you kind of have to use well in the sense of the game, because this guy can get buffed like crazy. But still, nice to see that you get 2 of them as well. Ilmire Witch Doctor, a card that I'm not sold on, although a 5/5 creature, don't get me wrong, is good. And it can create husks, but there's just not a lot of humanoids in this deck to go with it, although we get Infected Gravelock, which doesn't move. But keep in mind that even though it can't move somehow, it does poison on attack, so it's a good way to lock down a row here. Life Stealer, One of my favorite cards. If you can get it to actually kill, it can just keep going and going and going and going. Loyal Darkling, I'm not a terribly huge fan of, but it does let you do damage to opponent's idol in the same row. So, or wait, actually, when Loyal Darkling is destroyed, it deals 2 damage to an opponent in the same row. So it can sacrifice itself one way or the other. So if you really need to do direct idol damage, that's a way to do it. Mangy Rat. We can work on a rat deck later. I know I promised that before, but sorry, stuff happened. Mire Curse. Kind of the same problem with the earlier card here, Omnivore, in that your opponent can dodge it to play around it. Because if you get one unit that's damaged, this is an enchantment. So, I mean, I don't know if Purity is going to be coming back in form or Purification, but this enchant seems pretty weak compared to what it could possibly be doing. Mire Shambler. Interesting card. The random movement sometimes really helps you or hurts you. Pillar of Disease, decreasing attack by 1, but it's only affected on the row. So it's more of an interesting defensive structure. It does have 4 health, so worth taking a look at. Pillar of Fatigue, which is a rare. I imagine this will be a pretty disappointing rare for some people, although I do find it interesting. In that if you stack these, this will stack, so it is a countdown increased by 1 still. Not a terribly favorite card, can be dodged by some movement things such as redeploy, but that's a situational card for a situational card. Regenerator, however you pronounce that, Regenerator. Target unit gains 2 health when Regenerator comes into play. Enchanted units controller's idol on that road is dealt 1 damage. So, healing for a price. I'm not too huge on healing cards in this game because creatures tend to die in one shot. They usually don't stick around, especially when you're trying to kill your own creatures for some of the strategy here with Decay. Healing isn't always what you want to do. Scavenger Construct. When an adjacent unit dies, its health is increased by 2. I just love the art. And I like the little legs that are poking back and forth. Let's hear. Searing Shackles at the end of your opponent's turn. Enchanted unit deals 1 damage to the idol in the same row. Enchanted unit is dealt 2 damage when it moves. So that's an interesting, once again, direct idol damage thing. So there we go. There's not a lot to it. It could work, it might not. I don't really have much in the way of strategies for direct idol damage. I'm just looking today at the precon deck itself. So Shroud of Unlife. When an enchanted creature is destroyed, Undead Husk is summoned in its place. So if you know something's going to die, at least you get a second shot there. And then Soul Steal, a card that I found to have a lot of use for. Note that it creates a staggering Muckhead. Now, notable cards that are not in the Preconstructed deck. There's actually a pretty good assortment of cards. Like I said, Damning Curse is one that you're going to see a lot of. Harvester is going to be very expensive because it's not in the Preconstructed at all. It's going to be very expensive regardless. Languid is one that I was shocked to not see there. Notice that it's a common, but it is one of my favorite scrolls from Decay. But they kept it out of the Preconstructed, so you're going to have to buy some cards to get it. Attack is decreased by 2, draw a scroll. So very good at neutralizing a lot of threats. Mismawell. Another card that's going to be easy to find but expensive early on. And with these commons, you may want to try and buy your own cards or disappear. I like that it says do not drink. I didn't see that before. But especially for poison strategies, it's pretty well. Necrogeddon, which there's some like a Headbanger's Ball way to say that, I'm sure. Also not in there, going to be very highly in demand. Note that it's changed from the last video I made. It destroys all of your creatures, so it's not a board clear anymore. I think Blinky successfully broke the strategy of having a full clear card for that. But creature destroyed this way are replaced by Undead Husks at countdown 0. So this is a big FU. I'm going to attack with everything because Husks hit hard. Oblivion Seeker is another card that I find interesting is not in there. It's an uncommon, but it is one of those interesting. It only has 3 health, but you draw 2 scrolls if you kill it. So you put it on the front row, kind of hope your opponent kills. Pretty good board draw here. Pestis, good for rat decks. Keep an eye out for people who may be wanting to buy that. Puppet Soldier, I heard Mojang being very high about it. I'm not entirely sure if it's great or good or what, but it is a interesting defensive structure. And what other cards are interesting that are not in here? Return to Nature and Energy Siphon are both of your multi-resource cards that didn't end up in the precon. It's here. Otherwise, yeah, most of the cards you expect to be there are there, with probably the exception of Unbind is another that's more of a multi string play there. Tethered Recruit is a fun card, especially for multi-order, but they did seem to just keep it a pure decay instead of putting everything else. Probably the only other card that was interesting that's missing is Viscera Sage. But Viscera Sage, it wants to be a Kinfolk Brave. Maybe I'm spoiled by Kinfolk Braves. But the 2 countdown for 2 attack, you got to get that kill, and there's not a ton of ways to buff attack in this deck, except for something like wherever that card is that'll let you buff on something dying or kill all creatures around you, which of course I'm missing it now and I'll find it like 5 seconds later. But yeah, that's another card that's not in here. Restless Bones, there we go. All your, oh wait, no, that's not it. That's kind of like the undead version of +2 attack, countdown by 1. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead, and that is the pre-constructed deck. If you have the money for it, you're going to have a chance to see it, but let's go ahead and just get this started. We're going to do, is me and John online right now, because I am just doing a quick match here. We're going to do a quick match on medium with the Decay Precon here. And this is just on the test server, so we have my boring old thing here, but let's look ahead and see what creatures we have to start with. As I am playing an order player, I have Pillar Disease, Mangy Rat, Omnivore, Mire Shambler, Atrophy, and Pillar of Fatigue. Alright, so probably of all the cards that I have here... you know what? I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the Pillar of Disease. I'm not going to start too much with the pillars here. Mire Shambler, we'll see what you do. Like I said, this is just to see how the pre-constructed deck plays. It's not going to win you games in high rank from rank 1. Mangy Rat, those are interesting ones. A Mangy Rat attacks creature, it gets poisoned for 3 rounds. Omnivore, enchanted creatures dealt 1 damage, you draw a scroll, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the, well, I'll go ahead and keep the Pillar. I'll go ahead and get rid of the Atrophy, because that may or may not work right now, but he doesn't have a lot of creatures on the board. We're just going to go ahead and see if we can put down some rats. Rat City. Rat City. Those rats do look like they're having some problems. I mean, they should talk with the Mangy Wolves, as this order deck is just building. Get an Infected Gravelock, which is a interesting card to get because it can help me lock down the middle a little bit. I am in fact going to get rid of Omnivore though. And I think I will play the Pillar of Fatigue, just because I want to see how it works. It's not really a card I've considered before. As we get first idle damage from my, not Staggering Muckhead anymore, but Mire Shambler, who is a masked creature, and he's getting kabonked immediately. So this poor Ducal Infantryman is dead. Let's hear. Is this a card I can use this time? Target gains 2 health. No, we're not going to do that. We're just going to go ahead and sack for resources. And if he moves... I guess I could play the Infected Gravelock right here just to defend this. But it doesn't feel like the best play. But we're going to see some things... Going to see how it goes. So if they want to somehow try and take this out, they're going to have to go through this guy. So somebody may get poisoned. I don't know. So he's moving up there trying to dodge. Get a Night Scholar in front of him now. So what do we do here? We got a Bitter Root. I want to see if I can draw something better here. Illmire Hunter. That's the card we need right now. And I can put the Rod Eater down here as well. And note that by moving it did increase its cooldown, so... Pillar of Fatigue, so far, interesting. Increasing the cooldown, dropping an Obelisk, because this is what the medium AI does. It plays a lot of walls. Now, I could try and get cute here and move these guys down and force this guy to attack. I am going to get rid of the Husk for now. I don't really want to be top decking here, but I'm going to anyway. So let's go ahead and... Problem is, if I drop the Rod Eater, he could die. But if we go like this, he's not going to die, and he's going to get buffed just a little bit. So look at that big tentacly creature. Unfortunately, with the cooldown being up just a little bit... Oh my god, the Infected Gravelock did an uppercut. Not what I expected. Oh, you bitch. Bothering my poor Illmire Hunter. So he's going to die now. Or actually, no, he's not. That's interesting. So wait, how did his cooldown go back up? Oh, because whenever a creature moves. Now that's not good, I guess. Because that slows down everybody. So I am now not a fan of that card. I really need to learn to read. So this is going to be a kind of slow game. You could say when a creature is destroyed, an undead husk is put in its place. So we're just going to go ahead and put this guy back down here. I know that does that. Searing Shackles. Damage to the idol in the same row. Enchanted unit is dealt 2 damage when it moves. Okay, so we're going to put this on there. And I'll put the Shroud of Unlife on you, just because if you happen to get killed for some reason, it'll buff this guy again. So yeah, this is an interesting slowdown kind of game all of a sudden. As now he's just taking idle damage every time. We get another Infected Gravelock. Interesting stuff. Shroud of Unlife doesn't really do me a ton of good. Mire Shambler will let me stay protected at least for a little while longer though, because he's not going to attack. So right now I'm just trying to keep my units up and around. This kind of has them locked in at this point as we have our 4/4 Rod Eater, and now this guy's not going to be able to attack, which is interesting to me because he just moved up to the top row. And we're getting all kinds of zealots here, so I'm a little scared about what's going to happen there. The Shambler dies. But once again, I can't really do a lot about that guy right now. Pillar of Disease, though. Attack decreased by 1, or Shroud of Unlife. Let's get rid of Shroud of Unlife right now. And we are just going to say Omnivore, Cursemonger. Interesting cards. I'm going to try some new things here. Let's see how Omnivore works, see if I'm underestimating it. Let's go ahead and put this on this guy. I'll try to. Just wait a minute. Okay. So I can't enchant my opponent's card. That does not feel right to me. We're going to put the Pillar of Disease up anyway. See if I can play this now. No, apparently. That's really, really odd. Because I feel like I should be able to play that on my opponent instead of just anybody. So maybe that's even a worse card than I thought. I could possibly play it here. When a unit adjacent to enchanted unit dies, enchanted unit is dealt 1 damage and you draw 1 scroll. So maybe that is just for me. I don't know. Well, we're going to probably discard that then. I need to look into what that is a little more. I'd love to put that here. So let's see, we get a Crown of Strength. Transposition as well. Well, there is one way to negate the effect of everything. Alright, so I could Damning Curse here. And once again, I'd love to play this on you, but apparently the game is not letting me, so that's a little cute. Do I want to deal 1 damage to all of my creatures is one important question here. Well, let's go ahead and sack for resources anyway, because I do want this guy to live just a little bit longer. Preferably. So your Damning Curse does 1 damage to all units I control. Interesting. Well, I guess for now we're going to take out the Night Scholar. And we're going to buff this guy just a little bit. Only problem is that 4 damage will actually kill this guy. So maybe I should take out this Crown of Strength Infantrymen. I don't know. If I play something that dies, regardless, I don't think he has anything to speed it up. So there we go, 6/5 big scary blob. And I could move him up here to try and be a little more defensive, but then he won't be able to attack. Or I could just take out an idol. So, big scary face. Pillar of Fatigue, interesting. Once again, the AI moving this down here, unable to contend with these new tactics. As we're getting more idol damage here. So I get another draw here, and it's another Ilmire Rod Eater, or I could play a Cursemonger. Tough choices. Let's see what else we draw. Searing Shackles. Interesting. Arthritis. So each time it deals damage to itself, so I could play that and the Cursemonger. Let's give it a shot. Might as well play something. Searing Shackles is an interesting enchant, but we're going to go ahead and try and save it. So anytime these guys move, we get yay Imperial Resources. So we don't want that guy to die. Savage Construct is interesting, as now he's just going to be poking away at me very slowly. This idol is going to actually die. Alright, so I got to be pretty careful about what I'm doing here, because if I try and go up here, and I cannot clear this row right now. But I can go ahead and see, what do I want to do instead of Searing Shackles? Cluster Hex, that's interesting. So I could play that right there, give you all some damage. Play this down here, play this over there as well. Just playing cards I haven't played with before. So now they're all Cursed 1. Unit takes 1 extra damage anytime it takes damage. Savage Construct is just going to be a wall up here. Not too much to it right now. And I guess at this rate we are really just going to hope that you don't kill me, as you can say. So we'll move these guys up here. It is 1 extra attack to weight. I do have a Life Stealer in the wings. As you can see just how much damage this Ilmire Hunter has done at this point. He does have a Shroud of Unlife, as we get Frostwinded again, and Transpositioned again, and Blessing of Haste. So that's interesting. The game is trying to work around these mechanics. Good transposition play. I do have 2 idols, but unfortunately I'm losing creatures. Fortunately, this guy's getting buffed even more, but now he is having some problems and issues. As, interestingly, each time this unit deals damage, it takes 1 damage, so it's not going for the sacrifice there. Interesting. Well, I do just need to get 1 more idol at this point. And probably the best way to do that is just to play some creatures the next few turns. Blightbearer is interesting. It is going to be all poison damage all the time. I want to play the Ilmire Witch Doctor first, though, just because it is a beefier shield for this. So I don't know if anything can die right here. Slayer does not work on structures. So at least for now, we have another obelisk right there, as the computer can see that I'm gunning for this. We have another crossbowman. Suddenly, the old Necrogeddon looks really nice as we... Oh, a flip! Interesting. Very, very interesting play. Alright, well... what are we going to do here at this point? I do have a Savage Construct. Do have a Loyal Darkling. Do have a Blightbearer. I guess the question is, how do I want to deal with this? Because if I drop this guy down here, he's just going to attack, I guess. I'd love to take out that. I'm going to probably put the Blightbearer up top, not play the Loyal Darkling just yet. So yeah, interesting choices to be made. So I really don't want to poison this guy. So we'll give this a shot. Let's get rid of the Savage Construct. Cluster Hex once again. Not fantastic, but we're going to put this guy back here. At least I have another creature, and I can sacrifice him to deal 2 damage to your opponent's idol on the same row. So I can do 2 damage there. Yay! So that guy dies. 8 damage because of the Hex. As we get in kabonked. And a Shrine. Okay, so everybody's health's going to go up now. And a Mangonel. Do we have a speed? We don't have a speed. We just have a Mangonel sitting there. Okay. Alright, so right now I'm just trying to take this guy out. Fortunately, the computer took the bait with poison. And I guess we're just gonna try and play the long game here. As best I can. Let's get rid of atrophy. Can I soul steal somebody? Damn it, not with that right now. I'll be able to soul steal next round though. So let's go ahead and cluster hex over here. And I am going to play a defensive husk right here, as this guy's probably just gonna die, and that's okay because I have a life stealer there. He hasn't been doing a lot of good for me here so far. But yeah, that shrine, funny how it's the shrine that's kind of the killer, as the cluster hex is really making that poison pay off. But I won't be able to soul steal that guy either now, so I'm losing my Ilmire Hunter. This is against the medium AI too, don't forget that. But let's see, what are we gonna do now? I do have arthritis. Each time a unit deals damage, it also deals 1 damage to itself. I do have a soul steal available, but no viable targets. I do have a life stealer available. Well, my idol's still up. Let's go ahead and play arthritis here. Soul steal's not doing me a ton of good. Let's see if I can get another creature. Not right now. I'm going to play the life stealer here. We'll try Mire Curse over here just because these guys are so clumped. But I do want to protect this. If we're playing the slowdown game, we are. I would rather this 8 damage be applied to something else, but it's not, so kind of a waste. But Curse does work against creatures, so there we go. As all the movement is causing things, metaphysics. What? I have never seen the computer play that card before. Target you control is resummon on the same tile, so apparently that's what the computer wanted to do. I don't know. Okay, all units with a countdown of 1 or less have their countdown increased by 2, so I'm not too concerned with that just yet. Hex marks. I don't have a clear shot at an idol right now, unfortunately, so let's see what else we can get. Nothing! Absolutely nothing that I can use. That is the joy of this. So let's go ahead and get as much Mire Curse as we can. And this would be great if I had Miasma Well, but I don't. So we are in fact going to just probably... That guy's... okay, I believe poison damage is going to kill that guy at the very beginning of the turn, so we're okay there. And these guys are going to be able to do some damage, but the life draining may be able to help. Weird kind of place to be at this point in the game right now. Kind of unexpected, but that's what happens with this. I don't really like the cards that I have, but for lack of anything else to do, let's just cast Draining Mist once. Slow him down a little bit. We have a second one. As we get all kinds of poison damage now. This is our poison guy. Purification! What did you purify? You did not purify Mire Curse. That's so weird. Okay, so we're gonna probably... Damn, I can't get through this time. Which is unfortunate. Let's go ahead and see what other cards we can get, because I'm not really interested in healing right now. Atrophy's good. Brain Lice is fantastic. Draining Mist is going to help slow this down even more. So let's see here. That's going to go down, unfortunately. Oh wait, what the fuck am I doing? Sacrifice. I win! How many turns has it been where I've been able to win with that guy just a sacrifice? This is why you don't know scrolls, you don't know Decay, and that's why you take a look at this stuff. You've probably just been sitting there saying, oh look, he has 2 health, but I think it was partially because of this guy just constantly per turn. I'm really going to have to look at the replay there. But yeah, just kind of a, hey wait, I can actually win this because that idol only has 2 health. Well, you know what? That's Decay, that's the default deck. Like I said, it's still pretty playable. The Rod Eaters are fun if you can get a lot of things to die around, because this game does revolve around, or Decay does revolve, or it gets stronger when you can use creatures that die. Cluster Hex was actually pretty nice compared with Poison. Mire Curse is something that, well, eventually Order and Growth both get in situations where maybe they have so many creatures on the board they can't avoid it, but I don't know. Still, I am a little weird about how I feel about Pillar of Fatigue. It's an interesting card. It really slows down the game. It locks people into lanes. So I don't know if it's going to be in-game viable or top-rank viable, but still, that is a look at the Decay pre-constructed deck. I hope you enjoyed that, or at least found it interesting, or at least screaming at the screen saying, "Oh my god, you suck," which is probably true. But Decay is going to be available next week. It's going to be barn burners. I've seen some solid advice for buying cards, which I'll give it to you now. If you have spare cash and you want to pay a premium for getting cards on day one, by all means do so. But if you want to save money, wait about a week. Things will settle. Some cards are just going to be expensive. That's the way it goes. But remember, a lot of people are hoarding gold right now for the Decay release. So the market's going to be volatile. And if you want to save some pennies, it's probably better to wait it out. See especially where the metagame goes and which cards are maybe more valuable than others. But that's a side note. Decay is releasing. It's exciting. I'm going to be blowing all my cash. Not real cash, obviously, but blowing all of my in-game gold on it. But that's it for now. This is Way to Fail with more scrolls. We're going to have more videos coming up. Hope you enjoyed this one. I will see you next time.